all I want to do now is return home.
My dear Sixsmith, I am in desperate need of your help. I got hooked on a journal written in 1849 by a dying lawyer during a voyage from a Pacific isle to San Francisco. Half the book is missing. It's completely killing me. A half-finished book is, after all, a half-finished love affair.
What are you reading?
Old letters.
Why do you keep reading them?
I don't know. Just trying to understand why we keep making the same mistakes over and over.
Our lives and our choices, each encounter,
Louisa Ray, Spyglass Magazine.
right, suggests a new potential direction.
That's it. The music from my dream.
I call it the Cloud Atlas Sextet.
At home.
Movements I wrote imagining us meeting again and again in different lives, different ages.
What are you doing in here?
We cross and recross our old tracks like figure skaters. The love of my life, what had happened to her?
I can't explain it. But I knew when I opened that door,
I heard it in a dream. I was in a nightmarish cafe. Blaring, bright lights. Underground and no way out. And the waitresses, they all had the same face.
Welcome to Pop Sounds.
No reason to hide. I know you are Sunmi 451.
yesterday, my life was headed in one direction. Today, it is headed in another. You ever think the universe was against you?
What the fuck?
Where's our money?
The law says...
Law!
Fear, belief, love. Phenomena that determine the course of our lives. These forces begin long before we are born and continue after we perish.
Our lives are not our own. We are bound to others, past and present. And by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future.
I have begun to fear I may never hold my beloved Tilda in my arms again.
The problem you create is a political one.
Yesterday, I believed I would never have done what I did today. I feel like something important has happened to me. Is this possible? I just met her, and yet I have fallen in love with Louisa Ray.
Saving me twice, are you?
You fall, I'll catch you.
There is a natural order to this world, and those who try to upend it do not fare well.
I believe there is another world waiting for us, Sixsmith. a better world. And I'll be waiting for you there.
Welcome to the press conference for Cloud Atlas. Just a few points before we begin. No flash photography during the press conference. And as the talent enters the room, which might take a minute, photographers please can take photos, but just from your seats. And once the press conference begins, only the 6 accredited photo agencies will be allowed to take photos. TIFF will make the photos available from the press conference on the website within 24 hours. And volunteers with microphones will be walking around with to handle your questions. So when you ask your question, please remember to identify yourself and your media outlet. Please make sure your cell phones are off, and the press conference will be streamed live at tiff.net. Our moderator for this session is Richard Krause, so it's now my pleasure to welcome the directors and the cast of the film Cloud Atlas. Thank you.
This is going to take a couple of minutes for me to introduce everyone, so I'll start now as everyone files out. Would you please help me welcome the cast and directors of Cloud Atlas. We have Hugo in the front row, Hugo Weaving, Susan Sarandon, Tom Tickfer, Andy Wachowski, Lana Wachowski, Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Jim Sturgis. Am I getting everyone in the right order? In row number 2, we have Keith David, Joe Schoon, James Darcy, Hugh Grant, Jim Broadbent, Duna Bay, David Gyasi, and Ben Wishaw. And welcome.
Wear these like this so we can see who's sitting.
What are you taking?
Ambassador Hanks.
And first of all, I want to, before we start, I just want to wish Hugh Grant a happy birthday.
Oh my Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant. Happy birthday to you. Speech.
Very, very nice. Thank you very much. It's the first nice thing the press have ever done to me.
First of all, everyone, congratulations on the film. And I'm going to kick off the questions just by asking about the adaptation process. The novel Cloud Atlas is dense with ideas and characters, and it's such a complex novel. Tell me a little bit about the process of taking this very dense novel and turning it into a screenplay.
How long do we have?
You can take as long as you like. It's your day.
I said lunch delivered here for everybody. Okay. Well, we met, the three of us, and it was something like a magical meeting. Directors never meet because they always do separate stuff. They they're lonely. I mean, at least among their own kind. And
there should be a support group.
Yes, and it was love at first sight. I'm really trying to make it fast because, of course, there was a lot of stuff, and it was this this meeting that felt like, okay, how can we try and be together and spend time with each other? And of course, it was never working out because when I was filming, they were elsewhere or the other way around. And then they decided, okay, we go to Berlin. We'll shoot a movie in Berlin. So you can stay home and we will film and we can see each other every night. And the moment they arrived in Berlin, I was taking off to make another movie, which was Perfume then, in another country. So we felt like, okay, the only solution to all this is we need to find a film that we can do together. So it was an absurd idea because how can you really find material that could match this? And then this novel fell on us. And the novel was the most exciting thing we've read in a long, long time. And it also had things to it that seemed like inviting us to do a joint experience, make it a joint experience. And so we decided to try and adapt it, which was, of course, something we swore an oath. We want to adapt it only if we make it work in a way that also the author that we so admire and that we so respect likes and loves. So we gave it a first try, and that first try was actually us traveling to a beach.
Costa Rica.
To Costa Rica. Putting the novel into lots of little pieces and trying to rearrange them in a way that could make sense for making a film out of it.
Well, I think that was my question, in the sense that, was it like...
That was the preamble.
You said we had time as much as we want. If every... well...
But did you write each...
My time is up.
Did you write each of the storylines separately and then sort of like William S. Burroughs, chop it all up and put it back together?
Very interesting because that's how David wrote the novel, actually. He wrote them as short stories and then he chopped them up. He said he took about 20 minutes to do all the chopping. We were like, you. But when you read the book, you see that there are very resonant things in all 6 stories. And so once we started seeing the resonant pieces of narrative and the pieces of narrative that seemed connected, we began just sort of laying it out as if it was one big story. And that was our goal, that the book feels a little more like an anthology, and it's a little bit more acceptable in literature to write a book like that of sort of interwoven stories. David did it in Ghostwritten. But for a movie, we thought that it would be too hard to start over or start a new story an hour or so, an hour and a half into it with totally new characters. It would be too hard for audiences. But we saw that the book we all felt that the book affects your brain. You read it, and your brain no longer splits it up into 6 stories. Your brain begins making connections itself. And
yeah, you become the editor when you read the book. So the structure basically goes away as you read from chapter to chapter. You set the book down, and you begin as the reader making all the connections and all the characters. So
we wanted to make a movie of what that was in your brain, basically.
I'll turn it over to the press. Questions? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, wait for the microphone, please. And please announce your affiliation.
Max Hoffman with German television, Deutsche Welle. German media has described this as being the first attempt of a German blockbuster, but because of the complexity of the movie, would you say this is blockbuster material?
Sure. We didn't think about this so much. We really felt it was, we've actually never really thought about it that much. The thing is that I think one of the things that unites us very profoundly in our idea of what we're doing as the art form we love so much about is that it can be so crazy and experimental and mind-opening and yet still popular. And our idea of cinema and the cinema that made us want to make movies and love movies usually were films that had both, that had the potential to really involve you on many levels and make you come again and watch it again, and be really struck by its ideas, and yet be hugely entertained. And that's the films we want to make. So if they turn into blockbusters, yes, thank you.
David has this, he saw the movie and he loved it, and he said, you guys do this amazing thing where you take highbrow ideas and sort of lowbrow entertaining narrative motifs, and you combine them into a one-brow experience.
A monobrow experience.
The monobrow. That's
a unique.
We try to make monobrow movies. We don't like the whole commercial, market-driven thing of splitting movies up into art house or mainstream.
Good afternoon, Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun. I'm intrigued by what you're just saying, and I also remember a good conversation about something else with Susan Sarandon recently, where we talked about briefly her experience on your set, and she was sort of in awe of the complexity of what everyone was doing. So I'd be intrigued to hear from some of the actors about placing yourself within this kind of multi-dimensional world, and seeing how you could survive the experience of trying to contribute your piece of it. So
But
anyone who wants to start.
Complexity, but joyful. I mean, I think that's why I would even work craft service if they asked me to. It didn't matter how big the part was, because you don't find filmmakers, it's so hard to direct. It's so hard to direct something that's a 3-ring circus like this, even more difficult. But lots of times on a set, people get overwhelmed by the difficulty of the day-to-day making your day. I mean, no matter what the budget, there's a lot of pressure on directors, and you can lose the joyfulness, the playfulness of the collaboration, which is really what is so addictive for people. And I've never worked with anybody that just has that down in their lives and in their art.
Yeah, we can open this to the panel if you
Well,
like.
when I heard that they were going to make a German blockbuster that was written in Costa Rica, I said, I'm in, because I had never heard such a bodacious United Nations approach to making a film before.
And you wanted to test the highway.
Speaking for everybody, I guess, this was a fully realized vision that was presented to us at the get-go. These guys had gone off and were aiming at this sort of piece of cinematic literature, and all we really had to do is read the blueprint to see what was going to be expected of me. And I said, well, that sounds like all the things that acting in movies is supposed to be. It's going to be brilliant fun. We're going to get to go to cool places. It will be very, very hard work on occasion, and we'll have to go through some sort of like emotional trench to get at the moments that are very well highlighted in both the book and the screenplay. And I mean, shit, it's what I do for a living, so I jumped at it.
Well, first of all, was so grateful that they even thought of me. So right away, I was on board. But when I first met, it's true.
There was no other one.
He was the only one on the list.
That's right. Our short list was 0.
Holly Berry.
Okay, anyway. What I leave away, what I take away from this experience was people have said to me, so you were directed by 3 people, like you had to be nuts and all these characters. What I will echo what Tom said, what was so beautiful about it is Lana and Andy speak as one person. And so they finish each other's sentences, their thoughts are the same. They've talked about this so long that the vision is clear and there's a safety, a safe feeling that came with that. I would have tried anything they said because I figured if I hadn't thought about it, I knew they had, and it just might work. So there was safety. And Tom, the same way. Tom, I felt the same comfort with, safety with. It was always joy. He was happy to see me every day, and I really appreciated that. Feeling that, a fun experience. And I think everybody will say that from top to bottom, that while it was big and overwhelming and daunting, to them, they never let it trickle down to us. And I think we all had a good acting experience where we got to play.
I only heard one complaint, and that was Ada Sturgis. And one day after we had spent him sweating as I'm trying to poison him, and he had this sticky beard that has grown on his face in the course of the thing, at the end of the day, he came into the makeup trailer and said, "Please take this thing off my face." It's the only complaint I heard. And now look, he's growing one himself.
Is that the way you remember it, Jim?
Yeah, pretty much. That's why I've grown my own beard, just to avoid any kind of a sticky glue from now on.
Well, you have no idea what it meant for other people to take their entire faces off their face. You know? I do remember those makeup moments, Hugh. I do really remember.
Yes. I bitterly regret doing the whole film. I thought when they offered these parts, I thought, yes, I might show people I've got more strings to my bow than just one. But A, I was wrong, and B, it's just sitting in makeup, having plastic applied to your face for hours and hours, and I was very bad-tempered. And everyone's talked about the nice atmosphere on the set. I tried to make it nastier. I kept telling the American set that the German set was much more interesting, moving much faster, and vice versa. But I never quite got the split that I was after.
Hugo, do you have thoughts on the makeup as well and what we were just talking about?
Putting makeup on? Well, one of the funniest memories I have was when we were, before we started the shoot, and wandering around doing all the makeup tests and not recognizing your fellow actors and kind of bumping into people and just not knowing who they were and kind of having a lot of laughs about that. But yeah, look, it's a fantastic source material and a great adaptation of that. And when we got together for that first read-through, most of us were there, and it was a really extraordinary day. And I think it was the day when we all realized we were all going to have to take a kind of jump off a cliff, you know, into whatever this film was going to be. And despite all the extraordinary preparation that had gone into the film at that point, there was a time when we were all going to have to kind of go, okay, we're doing this, and there are things we're not going to be sure of what all these connections necessarily are, and we're not going to be sure how this is going to work. But that very leap of faith was something that kind of galvanized everyone, and it was that actually made it fun. It felt like we were doing something that was risky and different, and maybe you'd jump off the cliff and there would be, a long drop. Yeah, it was always that sense of kind of nervous excitement about going into the next day, the next character. But yeah.
Go ahead.
Yesterday I was trying to cross the street and there was so much people and flashes all over, and it was almost impossible with so many fans waiting for you outside. So on a daily basis, maybe Tom Hanks and Halle Berry could answer. Do you realize how much power you have as a celebrity, the popularity that you have?
Wield your power, Tom.
If I truly had power, I'd be water skiing right now. Look, the only power we have is in making our alliances. That's it. You throw in with people, and you're part of a. This is probably the biggest ensemble I think any of us has probably ever been involved with in a movie, and there's no other way to make the movie except like that. So I feel lucky that Andy and Lana and Tom come along and ask to begin with in the first place. But at the end of the day, the only power we have is to go through the paces for the bosses and try to do as good a job as possible. The rest of that is kind of like being like, yeah, I got a question about the Toronto International Film Festival. Why do you run your celebrities through a pen like we're bulls on the way to slaughter? It was the narrowest kind of like entrance to a theater I've ever had. I thought someone was going to be on the other side with a plug they were going to put through my head and offer me it was a very, very scary enterprise.
Exaltation awaits.
Right here, please. We've got a lot of people to get through. Right here, please. Thanks. The lady right here.
Hi, this is Linda from Fairchild TV of Toronto. Do you mind if I'm asking in English and both in Chinese with Ms. Chow?
Sure,
just one question, and can she answer it in Mandarin if possible?
If you like, yeah.
Thank you. 嗨，你好。Yes, it's you. First, I'll ask the This is a big group. I'll ask the question in English first. This is a big group. You work with the international best actor and actress. What is the difference between working with this big group here and the other side of the world when you were back in China? 就是有什么不同？就是跟这个 Hollywood 的 cast 跟这个中国的 cast 有什么不同 ？Thank you. Yes, thank you.
突然之间问到有点紧张。其实我觉得从表演上来讲，没有什么不同。对，但是在这次的就是故事里面，然后非常多非常优秀的演员，大家扮演就是不同时代，然后不同颜色的人，然后不同的性别，这个是非常有趣。然后每天在现场都会有很多的惊奇，这样对，所以这个是非常非常不同的，就让每个人都好像脑子快疯掉这样，对。
Thank you. Right here.
Everybody get that?
Can we get a microphone here, please?
Can you translation? 你可以翻译给大家听吗？谢谢。
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mila Kanev, Mix TV.
James Darcy will now translate her answer.
She had a lovely time, thank you.
Do you need a quick translation? Just very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yes. Working with the big group of international cast in different colors, in different personality, different characters, is just make her crazy. Thank you.
That was a good translation.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mila Kanev, Mix TV. This is a wonderful film about small actions which make such an impact on the history, on present, past. And I'm wondering if Susan and Tom and Holly will a little bit elaborate on the small things they did in life which made them to be the actors they are today.
I'm here because all my plans failed. Go ahead.
I'm here because I wasn't cast in one show in college and I went and auditioned for another one.
And I'm here because I just did not want to go to college. I worked so hard in high school to miss everything that I was burned out at 17, and so I had to go do something else.
Let's move along. Question right here.
Hi, Paulo from Portugal. For Andy and Landa, everybody's saying that you guys work, you complement yourselves. I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on that. How is that something that you're more particular in or you just one being, one soul?
They're answering the question right now.
I'll answer it in your own head. Well, we were just we just always played together, and we were pretty inseparable as kids, and I don't know, we never wanted to work apart. We started a painting company when we were trying to pay for college, and then we both dropped out almost simultaneously from our respective schools, and we ended up building a construction company. Our mom and dad's house was the last job that we did, and it's still standing.
It's still standing.
Still standing. And yeah, I just I just love her to bits.
Lana, do you want to?
Yeah, there's something beautiful about having someone you're really close to who you can read a book like the Cloud Atlas and go, read this, read this, read this. And then they call you at all the same parts where you were freaking out. I know, keep going. And there was something beautiful about having someone who we had a childhood dream to be writers or filmmakers, and we kind of kept each other trying in the same way that we brought Tom on board to realize another impossible dream. And many times, one person, it's hard, you maybe think to give up, but then when we were younger, Andy would push me or I would push him, and then we got Tom when Cloud Atlas seemed too impossible. We added another teammate. And sometimes, we'd give up and he'd go like, no, we must keep going in his German way. March, march.
It's very compelling, that accent.
Okay.
I'm going to go right back here. Yeah, go ahead.
This film touches a very old and deep topic about reincarnation, life, and the past, current in the West, and the future element in the Eastern world. I just wonder how, when the directors and the cast, and when you make this film, this topic in this novel is lines in your view of the world, or you help you deepen your understanding of what you learned during you do this project. Thank you.
We can open that up to the entire panel if anyone has. I think the question in a shorter form is, do you believe in reincarnation? And if so, did this movie give you a deeper understanding of it?
Jim Broadbent.
Jim Broadbent, ladies and gentlemen.
Here.
Go.
Thank you very much. Reincarnation. Yeah, well, I think it's sort of certainly made me think about the knock-on effect of lives, and which is all of our lives, and if that's I don't know if it's reincarnation, but there is that the ripple effect of all of our lives is something that became very apparent in the making of the film, and the ripple effect of being in this film is huge. And hopefully the film will carry on. I don't know if it's reincarnation, but it's certainly making a big impression that I think will last.
Thank you. We'll go right here. Yep.
Hi, Kerry Roberts, Movie Central Filmography. My question is for Tom Hanks. For the longest time, the closest thing you got to a sci-fi set is when you and Peter Scolari crashed the set of Star Trek II, I believe.
Oh, yeah, we did that. Yeah.
Let me ask you, why do you think it took so long for you to make a true sci-fi fantasy kind of film?
They don't ask me to make those movies. There's stuff out there that you desire to do. It just, it's cosmic, man. These three guys, they all have comet tattoos somewhere on them, and they change the lives of everybody that they come across. I don't know. The only reason why Peter Scolari and I were able to crash the set of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, for all you geeks out there, was because we had a long lunch break from Bosom Buddies and wanted to get into trouble.
We'll move on right here. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, right here. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Becky Zhou from Epoch Times newspaper. My question is for Zhou Xun. I will ask the question in English first. The film is about people are all related to living beings around you, and people get reincarnated after one to several lives in different places. So do you believe in human beings can reincarnate? Okay, I will ask in Chinese. 请问您相不相信轮回转生？因为这个电影其实内涵很深。然后，您觉得，就是说，您相不相信一个人和他周围的生命都是有联系的？好，谢谢。
我相信，对。但是我虽然不知道死了以后会是什么样，但是我相信所有的人，所有发生的事情，它一定是有联系的。像我们第一次看完电影，我们还在讨论说，可能我们这些人在某一世曾经去做过一件事情。对，我相信。
Keith David will now translate.
I believe. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead. Right here. Right here.
Congratulations for the movie, by the way. Ernesto Garrate from Chile.
Now, after Chinese, I like to speak about Spanish. Because your accent, Mrs. Halberry, was very good when you say lines in Spanish. Impressed me. Muy bueno, en realidad.
Gracias.
And I want to know a little bit about how do you get that, sabe hablar español, and that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I worked with a dialect coach named Peggy Hall Plessis, and I was very serious about that. I wanted all the Spanish-speaking people of the world to say, I did good. So that was very important with that line that I'll never forget until the day I die. I will be reciting that line in my head over and over and over. Like, I've taught that to my daughter already. So, you know, those are the little details that I think are really important. If we were going to suggest that that was my character's heritage, to be able to throw that out in a moment of real need, I thought was a one little detail that just brought some, you know, authenticity to the character. And I wanted to do the whole character with an accent, but the bosses said no.
Oh, hi, so Alice from Fairchild Radio. So congratulations, such a beautiful film. This film about crossing border, crossing gender. We have Hugo playing a woman, and then, you know, crossing race. It's like Jim's a Fu Manchu type of like Asian, and Zhou Xun was at one point Caucasian, right? You know, so it's a very crossing border, and it's like open up a lot of new windows. But for Zhou Xun and also for Beiduna, who I cannot see, it must be really, you know, a lot of you know, like stress on you, because, you know, like for all these big Hollywood production, they're only choosing 2 Asian actors, and both of them women. And you really have a lot, you know, I'm pretty sure it's going to be fun, right? You had a lot of fun on set. But what's the stress, you know, like how do you handle the stress? So if Zhou Xun, you can answer in Mandarin, and then Duna, maybe if you can do it in English.
After you.
But I don't know what is question.
我现在问你是借了一个好莱坞的大片，选了2个亚洲的演员，那这是很重要。那你觉得是不是有很大压力这样子？
其实参加这部电影的表演是很兴奋的，但是确实是语言啊，然后你要去扮不一样的人会有压力，特别是在语言上。对，因为就是我语言没有那么流畅，所以在现场非常紧张。对。
All right. Hi there, Nicholas Kazimian with Canada's Gay and Lesbian News. I love the profile in The New Yorker. I thought it was fantastic chronicling this film. And I'm curious because the article brings up the fact that the Wachowskis were brought up as boys and then later. Oh, sorry.
Duna didn't get a chance.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. There's no stress on set, actually. Yeah. I loved being on set, and I loved working with all the actors and the directors, so no stress. The only one thing was speaking in English. Yes, my English was even worse than now. At the time, I hardly spoke in English on set, so I wanted to say how much I enjoyed the filming and how much I loved them, but I could say anything, so it was so frustrating, but now it's okay.
So, yes, so I was just wondering why you felt it was time to address this transformation. Was it important, Lana, or would you, because you were silent before this until this wonderful piece?
Oh, you knew it was coming.
Tom Hanks will translate. Yeah, I did feel some responsibility to GLBT people, and a lot of people have been asking me to be more public, but we love anonymity. We love our privacy. We don't really think celebrity does much to improve your life. We think it actually worsens your life. So it was a big decision, so it took a long time, took a lot of years. And this movie and the fact that we had this new sibling who loves to do press. We can't do enough press. Our media whore brother over there.
I'm not a media whore, and you can quote me on that.
So we were trying to reconciling like how we were gonna balance like our no press and his all press, and we kind of came up with this middle of the road, and it sort of did a lot of things then. Thank you.
I'm going to go right behind you there. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nafisa. I'm from the Netherlands, also known as Holland. I have a question for all the cast because I would like to hear all your voices. Maybe you can keep it short so the guy there won't break it up. But what was your favorite character? Sorry, what was your favorite character to dress up like? Start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, let's start at the back.
I really like being Hugh Grant's wife.
I really like being Hugh Grant's wife. No. I have to say a tour, but I had to have waxing for that, which is very painful. So they let me shave, and then it was great.
Yeah, I love being the Mexican woman. No, my favorite, my favorite part is Sumi 451. Yeah.
Hugh Grant's brother. That was great fun, and I love the fact that working with Hugh, that you didn't notice him until he said, "Oh, fuck off."
Well, the only reason I did the film was because of Kona Warrior, and I have kept the costume. I slip into it sometimes of an evening in London, just to watch the telly. As, I feel comfortable like that now.
I actually most disliked playing the old man, a vision of my future. I immediately bought a juicer and took up yoga after the first makeup test. But it was so good, even I couldn't see the joins. It was great.
Yuna.
And Corabis.
Yeah. And why?
The leader of Union.
Because it took so long to figure out, and it was just fun. I always wanted to, transfer into it, know what I look like in another life. So that was different.
Hugo?
Hard to say, but probably old Georgie, because this is a character that's actually, although you see him in the film, he's not real. He is real, but he's not embodied. He's a fear inside someone else's head. So I suppose it was the closest I could get to being inside Tom Hanks's head. So that's probably why.
I loved being the man because when I looked in the mirror, I couldn't even see myself, which was really the first time that's ever happened, despite all the various things that I've done to myself on film. I've never looked in the mirror and actually thought, is that like Chris Walken's cousin or something? Who is this person that's, what's going on here? And that was just a startling experience, to not recognize yourself at all. So that was really fun.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I love playing Dermot Hoggins because he got to throw a critic off a balcony to his horrible crushing death. That was my favorite. Oh God, how I loved it! It was magnificent.
I would say probably the white German Jewish woman. I was having a fitting. I remember Tom said to me during the fitting, I was trying on all these beautiful dresses, trying to figure out what looked best on her. And Tom said, have you ever done a period piece before? And I said, well, yeah. And he goes, have you ever worn clothes like this? And so I said, Tom, but think about it for a minute. And when he thought about it, it was painful at the moment, but then we laughed about it. For me to have played in that time period, I was usually probably a slave or close to it, not kind of dressed up. So for us, it was one of those heavy moments, but yet we found a way to laugh about it and thought, great, that's why I get to do this, to play something that I would never get to play in life. I would never get to dress up like that and be that character if I were really me. So that was very poignant for me as an artist to get to do that.
And Jim?
Yeah, mine was probably Heiju Chang, because he was always clean shaven and never had to wear a fake beard.
Let's go to the back, yep. And we're going to the very back.
Hi, this is a question for Tom Tückwer. Maybe you can answer in German as well, not in Mandarin.
Really?
For public national radio from Germany, so German answer would be great.
Wow.
How important is the music in your movie, and how was it working with the MDR Symphonieorchester?
Wow. Die Musik ist sehr wichtig und das Orchester war sehr gut. The music, of course, obviously, as some of you might know, I'm working with two close friends. I have this, obviously, an affection for working with more people on jobs that usually are driven to one person. But there is an idea that I have in my head that I don't know. I believe there's this idea of one vision, and at the same time, I always find it a bit absurd. I always like the fact that I think three minds are connected that really love and care for each other, but also have a certain train of thought that is similar, can just do better. And so that's what I'm doing since 15 years. I have these two partners in composing, Johnny Klimek and Reinhold Heil, and we've grown to a certain method that we love. We do the music actually before we film the movie, so we had kind of the entire score in a rougher state, obviously, before we even started filming, which is incredibly helpful for us, obviously, because we get a sense of atmospheric things that will somehow consciously and subconsciously guide you and help you in investigating the climate of a film. It can even sometimes help you on set, because you know, okay, well, they're playing music there. You know, you have to know what the music is. There's composers in the film, and of course in post it's wonderful, because the problem of, you know, probably the reality of film editing is that people cut their movie and they take other people's music from other movies and put it on top of it to have something to get it rhythmical with. They fall in love with it, and then they ask a composer, can you do something like this, just like slightly different, but maybe more or less the same, but not that we get sued. So, and that's why scores have gotten more and more similar. And okay, that's a very important thing for me. And then, of course, finding an orchestra that can really relate to you in this way, it's a huge issue. And we found this really amazing orchestra in Leipzig, which did an amazing job, because I had never done it, and we went really several times to them, and they were really devoted. Amazing conductor, young conductor called Christian Jarvi. I can't repeat that in German. It's going to blow this whole press conference, and we might have an appointment later then.
We have time for one last question, and I'll go right here. Yeah, make it fast, please.
Thank you very much. I love the film. It's Linda Carter from G98.7. I just wanted to ask you, the whole cast doesn't have to answer it, obviously, but how was it when you first read the script? Did you get exactly what you're trying to go for, and are you hoping the audiences will come back a couple of times to see it, maybe to become a cult film? Hallie, Tom, anybody?
Much like the film itself, the initial 7 pages or so of the screenplay raise questions, as in who are these people and what's going on. But it's kind of like a hug that gets tighter and tighter. A light bulb goes off in your individual head that says, Okay, I understand that these relate to each other, but I'm not sure what the connection is. And 7 pages, the connection becomes evident. And then the artistic struggle becomes evident. And then the fight for survival and the choices that they make become such that by the time I was reading the last 40 or 50 pages of the screenplay, I was completely involved in each of the individual struggles and understood that these were characters that were having to make the choice between cruelty and kindness, and that decision was going to change the world from there on end. It was there in the architecture of the screenplay. A lot has been said about the great work in Costa Rica that our three bosses did, but I think it's a perfect blending of the literature of David Mitchell and the cinematic power of these three. So I think it's, if you could brand a term of what the type of movie it is, it's not 6 different movies, it's not even 2 different movies. It is one example of cinematic literature that examines the connectedness of the human race throughout all of time. And I think by the time you got to the end of the screenplay, you knew that that was what it was about, and we were all there, and it was totally worth it, if only to see Hugh Grant as a cannibal walking around Babelsberg Film Studios during the makeup test.
Does anyone else care to chime in?
I think that sums it up.
That sums it up. Thank you, everyone. That's all our time for Cloud Atlas. Thank you.
And as we bid adieu to Andy and Lana's anonymity, we say thank you and God bless you for your sacrifice.